Chairman of the National Parks, Forests, and Public Lands Subcommittee.
Gentleman from Utah is recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, the Senate and House Western Caucus produced a document that was entitled The War on Western Jobs, in which we discovered 10 areas in which regulations from this administration and past administrations have created specific problems and specific loss of jobs to the West. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has said that the West has the highest regional unemployment for the past year, that indeed the top 6 of the top 12 states that had the largest decline in employment to population ratio since the recession began were found in the West. 3 of the top 5 states showing the most stress were found in the West, and Washington's misguided policies were making the matter worse, whether it was in the areas of energy use, takeover of water, domestic energy, mandates, prioritization of species, multiple use on national forests, over-regulating, seizing Western lands, bureaucratic overreach. All 10 of those areas illustrate the problems that we face in the West. In Western public lands, it is essential to have a resource management plan. This is not simply a dead-all approach, but indeed it is an effort where professionals on the ground were able to come up, in the case of Utah, after 6 to 10 years of planning, following the law, including the public process, to come up with a policy and procedures for our plans, all of which have been turned upside down by arbitrary regulations coming out of the Interior Department here in Washington. Let me give you simply 2 examples. An arbitrary decision that made a restrictive new regulatory framework for U.S. oil shale. The U.S. Geological Survey said in the 16,000 square mile area of Utah, Wyoming, and parts of Colorado, they estimate at least 2 trillion barrels of oil shale, that's equal to what Canada is enriching themselves through their tar sands proposal, were available, and experimental programs were moving forward until a regulation. The estimate, a potential loss of 100,000 jobs and $1.9 trillion to the GDP of this country, was lost in that particular project. The last day, the day after the last day of our lame duck session, Secretary of Interior, using questionable authorities, created a new or announced a new wildland policy, which once again stopped those management plans in their tracks. The result of that, let me simply give you one example. One company in 2 counties of my state, having 300 high-paying jobs, who had been working for 3 years with leasing and environmental review process with the BLM, within hours of that wildlands announcement, special interest groups recommended the area they were working be managed as wildlands, and their leasing process was delayed indefinitely for a potential wildlands inventory, despite the fact that this entire area consists of 800 drill holes with cement casings, roads, man-made earth berms, and every other sign of man that would be prohibited if it was a wilderness designation. Local governments desperately need those management plans because they provide the consistency for government, for business, to understand that.
You yield gentleman 15 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you,
15
sir.
seconds.
Once again, in the West, thousands of jobs have been lost. Millions of dollars that should be going to schools on trust lands have been lost. Billions of capital investment have been lost because of this war on the West through regulation. It's time to end the war. It's time to help the people out. I look forward to this process.